From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. Gunmen invade Abuja community, abduct 5, including a family of 3. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Afe Babalola, drops defamation suit against lawyer and human rights activist Dele Farotimi. Thousands flee as Congolese rebels seize control of eastern city of Goma following lightning advance against the army.
In business, regulators commence issuance of gas licenses to qualified players once off-takers against supply disruptions.
And in sport, Nigeria drawn in Group C alongside Tunisia, Uganda, Tanzania ahead of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco.
Details in a bit. Thank you for joining us. A devastating abduction incident has disrupted the Chika-kore community in the Bwari Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. Gunmen stormed the area early on Monday and kidnapped 5 residents, including a family of 3. The victims are believed to include a man, his wife, their son, and 2 other individuals. The kidnappers are yet to contact the victims' families. The police have launched a search and rescue operation to ensure the victims' safe recovery and to apprehend the perpetrators. However, the community is calling for more to be done, citing the need for a police division in the area to prevent future attacks. Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani has justified his administration's resolve to negotiate with bandits who have been terrorizing the different parts of the state. The governor, who made this known on Monday, noting that he would rather negotiate with the terrorists than allow the rampant and senseless killings in the state. Sani added that the decision to opt for dialogue was driven by pleas from residents and traditional rulers from the affected areas. And one of our lead stories tonight, a senior advocate of Nigeria and legal luminary, Afe Babalola, has withdrawn all criminal charges filed against human rights activist and lawyer Dele Farotimi. Babalola had previously petitioned the Ekiti State Police, alleging that Farotimi defamed him in his book, Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System. The petition led to Farotimi's arrest and subsequent trial for alleged defamation and cyberbullying. In the early hours of Monday, the legal icon decided to withdraw the case following the intervention of the Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, and other prominent traditional leaders. Babalola expressed his dismay over Farotimi's accusations. Now, hearing on the murder case of Salome Adaudu, a 7 core member at the Abuja headquarters of the National Insurance Company of Nigeria, who was gruesomely murdered by her suspected boyfriend, Timileyi Ajayi, held for the first time in Lafia, Nasarawa State. The suspect, however, pleaded not guilty as he appeared before Justice Simon Aboki of the Nasarawa State High Court in Lafia, the state capital. News Center's Chizobanyo tells us more.
He was arrested on January the 12th after he was caught with a severed head of Salome Adaidu following claims she had cheated on him. He was subsequently arraigned by the State Police Command on a 1-count charge of culpable homicide, punishable with the death penalty under the Penal Code of Northern Nigeria if found guilty. At the first hearing on Monday, he however pleaded not guilty before the court, despite earlier admitting he had committed the crime. Counsel to the accused says he has presented his plea and a date has been set for the hearing.
It's not my place to prove the case. It's my place to defend him. The essence of the work of the defense counsel is to ensure that the prosecution does their own work legally well, which is to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. So I'm here to make sure that the law is fulfilled as the law demands. He has entered his plea already, so we have taken a date for hearing.
We are optimistic that the justice will be done. This is a serious matter of national importance, and we are here to see that justice is done.
The case was adjourned to March the 17th through 20th by the trial judge, Justice Simon Aboki. In Lafia, Nasarawa State for News Central, I am Chizoba Aniuwi.
Many thanks, Chizoba. Nigerian activist and former presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore, has rejected the Nigerian police bail conditions and opted to remain in custody. He said he was asked to submit his passport and present a grade level 17 officer, the equivalent of a permanent secretary, as surety. Sowore had arrived at the police headquarters in Abuja on Monday morning after he was invited by the police for questioning over a viral video he posted alleging extortion by officers at a checkpoint in Lagos. Sowore was accused of resisting and obstructing public officers, disobedience to lawful orders, cyber stalking, and acts allegedly intended to prevent arrests.
Provide witnesses. What are we talking about? Are we playing in this country? Should we even be here discussing this kind of trivial issues? Should we be here? Is this the kind of thing? Look at, they just killed 16 soldiers. The police should be helping to restore law and order. The police have abandoned the responsibility of policing the nation, and they are chasing bed bugs all over the place. We'll be in court early in the morning tomorrow to file a threat for him. We will take all necessary legal steps to ensure that Sowore gets justice. We anticipate that the police have become so idle, because if not, why all this? How does this improve the well-being, safety, security, and protection of citizens and the nation? How does this? Should there not be an emergency meeting after the killing of those soldiers, that the police should draft officers to go and support the military in fight of banditry in the country?
The recent proposal by the House of Representatives to decentralize Nigeria's Supreme Court has garnered widespread support, particularly from legal professionals across the country. On December 9, the House introduced a bill seeking to establish 5 additional divisions of the Supreme Court alongside its existing headquarters in Abuja. The proposed divisions would be located in Umuahia, Bauchi, Uyo, Lagos, and Kano. The initiative aims to enhance access to justice, reduce logistical costs for litigants, and expedite the resolution of cases. The Abuja headquarters would continue to serve the North Central region. Legal experts, including National Publicity Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, have praised the proposal as a much-needed reform to improve the justice system. The Youth Rights Campaign has called on President Bola Tinubu to halt the prosecution of peaceful protesters who were arrested during the End Bad Governance protest. The individuals are set to be arraigned at the Federal High Court in Abuja on January 29, where they will be tried for treason, mutiny, and terrorism. This appeal was made during a press conference organized by the Youth Rights Campaign at the International Press Center in Ogba, Lagos. My colleague, Omolola Ololade, has more for us.
In August 2024, the country experienced the End Bad Governance protests. The protests were met with heavy crackdown by the authorities, resulting in reported killings and mass arrests of peaceful protesters. While some of the protesters have been released, others remain in detention and will soon appear before Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja on treason, mutiny and terrorism charges on the 29th of January 2024. Ahead of the arraignment, members of the Youth Rights Campaign are calling on the presidency to halt the trial of the detained protesters who they allege are being persecuted. The group says this should be done before initiating discussions on modalities for a genuine national conference.
The entire purpose of this press conference is to try and build a momentum around our campaign that has been going on since last year to ensure that activists, protesters with whom we were out nationwide in August last year, who are now facing treason trial, that we are able to ensure that the Tinubu government realizes that the Nigerian people and the world entirely will not take it lightly
President Tinubu must halt the sham trial now. Adaramere Michael Lenin and other end-bad governance activists do not deserve a death sentence for protesting against hunger and hardship.
The rights group believe the youth have the right to protest against the present economic situation while hoping for the change they desire.
We still have the Abuja 11, whom for no reason, no concrete evidence has been brought against them. Their only offense is that they dared to ask the government to do better. And they are facing the possibility of being hung to death.
We're supposed to be operating a democracy in Nigeria. That's what we're supposed to be operating. But right now, it doesn't seem that way, because we cannot come out to freely express our displeasure. Because when we do that, the next thing you do is to send police after us.
While many youth may be deterred to join future protests due to the arrests and killings, others say it is a driving force to participate in peaceful protests to demand an end to hunger and hardship in Nigeria. In Lagos for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
Coming up, Lagos Assembly postpones plenary as new Speaker Mojisola Miranda assumes office. We will bring you details of this and more in a moment. Thank you for staying with us. Let's bring you a recap of our top stories. Gunmen invade Abuja community, abduct 5, including a family of 3. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Afe Babalola, drops defamation suit against lawyer and human rights activist Dele Farotimi. Thousands flee as Congolese rebels seize control of eastern city of Goma following lightning advance against the army. In Lagos, it was a waiting game at the State House of Assembly on Monday as hopes for a plenary session were dashed. The legislature has been in the spotlight following the refusal of the removed Speaker, Mudashiru Obasa, to accept the processes that led to his removal, raising concerns about how proceedings would unfold if the House resumed. Journalists who gathered at the Assembly complex to monitor the situation waited for hours only to be informed by the Assembly spokesman, Stephen Ogundipe, that the sit-in has been rescheduled. Meanwhile, the Lagos State House of Assembly witnessed a leadership change as Mojisola Miranda officially assumed office as Speaker. Her assumption followed the removal of Mudashiru Obasa on January the 13th, despite his claims of unconstitutionality. Obasa was notably absent on Monday as security was tightened at the complex. All right, let's tell you about the quitting of the APC by Aregbesola. That will be after the short break. Stay with us. A malnutrition crisis is gripping Nigeria's northeast and northwest regions, with more than 5 million children affected. According to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, severe acute malnutrition cases are on the rise, hence the need for urgent action. News Center's Sagir Ibrahim reports from Zamfara, where he monitored the activities of the UNICEF delegation.
And her team began their visit at Gidandawa Bungudu Model Primary School, where she interacted with children and stakeholders. The team then proceeded to the Dr. Karima Primary Health Care Center, where UNICEF is running an outpatient therapeutic program center.
Based on the severity of the case, they are managed based on that as outpatient. Those who have severe cases are referred to the stabilization center.
Another stop was the Stabilization Center at Yarima Bakura General Hospital. These field visits to project sites in Zamfara highlighted the severity of the situation.
If she doesn't want to see her future baby sick as well,
the revelations are alarming. In Zamfara state alone, 250,000 children, or 1 in 10, are suffering from severe acute malnutrition, with approximately 8 million babies born annually in Nigeria. Munduate warned that these figures could rise further.
We saw evidence and documentation that unfortunately some of them had died, couldn't make it. We want to highlight the urgent need to put a priority on children.
UNICEF's findings indicate that 50% of Nigeria's population, around 110 million people, are children. Of these, 40% under age 5 are stunted, while 1 in 4 children is out of school. However, Munduate noted some positive developments.
The number of children under 5 years for every 1,000 live births, it has declined. Another news is that Zamfara is keeping the status of 0 polio cases. I am a true believer that if you have the political will and determination, then things can change.
Parents, teachers, and healthcare workers underscore the urgent need for increased investment in child welfare.
Honestly,
I don't feel happy because when you have a child that is fine and is healthy, you'll be happy. But when the child is always sick and you always have to be in the hospital, it's very, very sad, and I hope the situation improves.
We need library, we need additional structures, we need gadgets for teachers, and more methodologies.
Flux of malnutrition now is high due to the economy. As a farmer, during the planting season, they take all of their plants or their seeds to the farm to plant. So mostly they don't have food at all. They now, as a farmer that used to have food, they now go to market and buy. So then they have to be prioritizing what to buy and what to not to buy.
UNICEF estimates that addressing the needs of Nigeria's most vulnerable states, including Sokoto, Zamfara, and Katsina, will require over $250 million. More than $100 million is needed for these 3 states alone to fund essential programs for children in the region. In Gusau, the Zamfara state capital, Sagir Ibrahim for News Central.
To discuss this sad development, I'm joined now from Abuja by Chief of Nutrition for UNICEF, Nemad Hajiboy. Welcome to the news and thanks for giving us your time. Quite a very touching report by my colleague there about the situation. What could be the main causes of this surge?
Thank you. So there are 3 main causes that we talk about. The first is the cost of living. As you know, last year, food inflation in Nigeria was at about 39%, which has been an all-time high. We also know that climate conditions such as floods, drought play a big role in the availability and price of food. We do know that to some extent, access, which may be restricted due to conflict or banditry, can play a role in terms of, again, households accessing services, households accessing farmlands. And then last but not the least, sociocultural practices where children may not be breastfed optimally or given the diverse foods that they need. All these factors add up and lead to the situation.
How is UNICEF responding to this crisis?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. How is UNICEF responding to this crisis?
Yeah, I'm trying to find out from you how UNICEF is responding to the crisis. We're going to see some of the pictures of what is being done, but are there specific interventions you're taking on?
Okay, so I'd like to say first that UNICEF is responding to this crisis across many, many states in Nigeria. And with respect to malnutrition, our emphasis is really on prevention. The pictures that you see in the reportage that were shown for Zamfara State and the children that you see are really almost at the edge or have become so severely malnourished that their growth and development is so compromised. What we would like to see is that that children don't even get that far, and that we kind of cut or prevent them from falling sick and from falling malnourished. So what we talk about is supporting the government across almost all the states of Nigeria to focus on the first 1,000 days of life, from pregnancy to the time a child is 2 years of age. This is the period in our life of the most rapid growth, and that growth is fueled by the right food. And by right food, I mean pregnant women need to get their micronutrient supplements. When a child is born, they need to be breastfed early exclusively and continue to be breastfed up to 2 years of age. At 6 months of age, besides breast milk, children need to start to get diverse diets. So we're working with the government across all levels, national, subnational, and the LGA level, across ministries, departments, and agencies to ensure that the health system, the food system, the social protection system really works to deliver services for children and women.
I mean, it's clear that there are some challenges in assessing and providing aid to affected communities, but talk to us about how you are able to assess particularly hard to reach areas.
Thank you. So in particularly hard to reach areas, I mean, it's wonderful in Nigeria, as you know, we have local governments right down to the LGA level, and then even at the ward level, there are community workers that we work with and through. We also work very closely with socio-cultural traditional leaders of all faiths who really help us and work with us to get messages across and ensure services are there. And last but not the least, we have civil society and non-government organizations that are at the grassroots and help drive and deliver services. At a slightly higher level, we work with structures such as the Nigeria Governors Forum and the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria Forum to make sure that every child receives these preventive services. And while, yes, the situation does seem quite kind of dire in terms of when we look at some of the pictures here, I am happy to say that just recently through November and December, we were in partnership with the government and other non-government organizations able to reach over 40 million children under 5 with 2 doses of vitamin A supplementation. And this is critical to help to prevent children from dying. So we can make a difference if we all come together and work together for children.
Yeah, a collaborative effort indeed. But since you are having conversations with the government and other relevant agencies, are there talks about a long-term plan to prevent, the resurgence or cases like this and make more of a sustainable effort in preventing malnutrition?
Absolutely. Many people are not aware that His Excellency, the Vice President, is the chair of the National Council for Nutrition in Nigeria, and he's taken this issue up quite seriously. And the government, I hope I'm not giving a sneak peek, but is really putting together a program of sorts, so I would say a national drive and campaign that will be launched sometime in this first quarter of the year, that will look at really scaling up efforts across the country to help to mitigate and ensure that our children in Nigeria are healthy and have the chance to survive and thrive. Children form the future, and as you saw the statistics, more than half the population in Nigeria are children, and they are the future and the human capital of the country. So if we want to secure the future of Nigeria, we have to secure the health and nutrition of our children.
Nawaz, thank you for speaking with us. We appreciate your time and the work that you do.
Thank you.
Now, in different development, the political group of Ralph Aregbesola, a former governor of Osun State, has announced the decision to quit the All Progressive Congress, APC. The decision was reached during a stakeholders meeting in Ilesha, Osun State, on Sunday. The meeting was attended by Aregbesola and other members of the APC faction in the 332 wards of Osun State. Aregbesola served as governor of Osun from 2010 to 2018 and Minister of Interior from 2019 to 2023 as a member of the APC. In a statement, spokesperson of Omoluabi Progressives said members resolved to quit APC because of ostracization from the party, suspension and expulsion of leaders without fair hearings, and continuous denigration of the structure. A PwC report on Nigeria's 2025 budget and economic outlook highlights critical issues such as opportunities and risks, as well as their impact on households and businesses. The report also discusses strategic imperatives for businesses and the overall economic outlook for Nigeria. Organized into 3 sections, it offers insights on key economic themes and strategic considerations for 2025, supporting informed decision-making for stakeholders. Many expect tapered inflation, a stable exchange rate, and moderate economic growth, subject to sustained reforms and disciplined policy execution. Abiodun Kayode Ali, economist and senior manager, PwC Nigeria, joins me now for a deeper dive into the significant issues that will drive Nigeria's economic trajectory in 2025. Glad you could join us tonight. Can you summarize the key findings of the report on Nigeria's budget and economic outlook for 2025?
Yeah, thank you, Felicity. In a nutshell, what that report simply speaks to is to let us know that even though things might have been tough in 2024, we do expect that things will get better, right? We've witnessed a significant increase in the cost of living, and this can be attributed to inflationary impacts, right? Coming from food inflation, we've seen massive cases of insecurity in the north, impacting on the regions where most of the food items that we consume are being produced. Then you also consider the fact that we are still struggling from the impact of the liberalization of the Naira back in 2023, because a lot of the items that we actually use, not just for consumption, but also for production activities, we import them. So you see that exchange rate pass-through effect, right? But thankfully, the monetary authorities are put in place certain measures to actually stabilize exchange rates. So with stability of the exchange rate, it kind of creates that trust in the system that if you bring in your monies into the country, you can also take it out. You've seen situations where the monetary authorities also were able to settle most of the monies that were owed to airlines. Right. So building that trust, creating that environment, enabling environment is what we believe will actually attract foreign investment into the country. Not to say that everything is perfect, but I think the current administration are making strides to ensure that things are stable. And that's the reason why the budget itself is actually tagged not only security, not only restoring peace, but also promoting prosperity. So in a nutshell, we believe that there is actually room for optimism in 2025.
All right, as optimistic as the outlook seems to be, there are some significant risks, right? There has to be, and opportunities that will confront the economy in 2025. How would you explain that?
Yeah, thank you, Felicity. And like I said, one of the big risks that we have there is actually inflation, right? Because like the last speaker from the United Nations spoke, we have inflation actually reducing the disposable income of Nigerians. Things are no longer the same prices we used to have them in the past. And this simply means that we have a lot of consumers are needing to reduce what they actually consume, right? The World Bank has said that inflation is actually going to drop about 13 million people below the poverty line. Then we also have the challenges of security, right? Which is actually, like has been said, keeping about 33 million people lacking access to feeding, right? Having that challenge of food security. So those are risks that we have. And also if the spate of insecurity continues, that's also going to be very discouraging. But there are opportunities like you've rightly pointed out. We've seen areas where Nigeria can actually attract investment, given the fact that about 70% of our population are actually youth. So you see a lot of youthful activities in terms of being productive, right? Creating that employment. If we have businesses, right, who are coming into this country, we need to have businesses that are in search of a market. We have that in terms of our population. We've seen situations where lots of our businesses in terms of SMEs are doing great things, coming up with innovations using technology. And thankfully, the fiscal side is actually doing a lot to make most of these youth employable with the tax reform bills that have been introduced. And thankfully, the governors are actually backing this at this point in time. So there are opportunities for investment in the youth, opportunities for investment in key sectors like agriculture, key sectors like telecommunications, right? So this poses lots of investment, especially when it comes to energy and fuel. We know that Nigeria is a gas producing nation, and we know that the United States right now is coming up with efforts to actually ensure more drilling. And we know Russia, there is actually this geopolitical tension with Russia having challenges with selling its gas. So these are the opportunities for most of these investors to consider.
So, Abiodun, I guess a lot to look forward to in this new year. And I mean, we have you folks at PwC to help us make sense of it. I'm sure we'll be speaking again. Thank you for speaking with us tonight.
Thank you for me, Felicity.
Rebels from the Congolese M23 movement have taken control of the eastern city of Goma following a lightning advance against the army. Heavy artillery and gunfire have been heard in the besieged city throughout the day. At least 13 foreign peacekeepers have been killed in clashes with the rebels. Fighting between the M23 and DR Congo's army has intensified since the start of the year, with the rebels seizing control of more territory than ever. According to aid workers, water and electricity supplies in Goma have been cut off. Goma, which borders Rwanda, is a vital trading and transport hub with over 1 million residents. Meanwhile, Kenya's President William Ruto says his Congolese and Rwandan counterparts have agreed to an emergency summit on Wednesday. We hope the summit yields some results. Let's go for a short break. We have more stories when we come back. Adebola is here for some business news. I hear there is some relief for players in the gas sector getting licensed by regulators.
Oh yes, Felicity, indeed, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has begun issuing gas licenses to qualified players in the sector. Well, we'll see how that is turning out in the world of business. Do stay tuned.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has begun issuing gas licenses to qualified sector players. Jamila Adama, head of the agency media department, warned off-takers to ensure a steady gas supply to generation companies or risk license revocation. A sabotage will not be tolerated. This initiative aligns with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda aimed at enhancing gas supply for the expansion of the national distribution grid system. Several African nations on Monday pledged to open their electricity sectors to attract investment and provide power to 300 million people lacking electricity within 6 years. Under Mission 300, Initiated by the World Bank and African Development Bank, the goal is to connect homes by 2030. The initiative aims to unlock at least $90 billion in capital. Now, countries like Nigeria, Senegal, and Tanzania are committed to reforming utility companies and integrating renewable energy to boost economic development. South Africa's Rand weakened on Monday ahead of a week filled with significant domestic and international data releases, which will include interest rate decisions from the Federal Reserve and the South African Reserve Bank. The Rand traded at 18.72 against the dollar at 4:24 GMT, approximately 1.7% lower than its previous close. Investors are focused on the Fed's meeting, expected to maintain steady rates, while the SERB's decision on Thursday may see a 25 basis point cut to 7.50%. And that's all on business news for tonight.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Let's join Favor now for some sports news. Favor, Nigeria has been drawn alongside some countries ahead of AFCON 2025. Why is this being described as a provincial group of death?
Well, of course, when you look at the countries, Nigeria got Tunisia, Uganda, and Tanzania. For Tunisia, they were the team that stopped Nigeria from progressing in the 2021 African Cup of Nations in Garoua in Cameroon. And, of course, they will be facing them yet again. Many more after this timeout.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
And in sport, the Super Eagles of Nigeria have been drawn in Group C alongside Tunisia, Uganda, and Tanzania for the CAF Africa Cup of Nations, Morocco 2025. The final draw was held on January 27th at the Mohammed V National Theatre in Rabat. Nigeria, three-time AFCON champions, topped the qualifying group with 11 points, scoring 9 goals and conceding 3 in 6 matches. They aim to build on this momentum and secure their 4th title, but face tough competition, especially from Tunisia. Group A features hosts Morocco, Mali, Zambia, and Comoros. Egypt headlines Group B with South Africa, Angola, and Zimbabwe. Group D includes 2021 champions Senegal, DR Congo, Benin Republic, and Botswana. In Group E, it has Algeria, Burkina Faso, Equatorial Guinea, and Sudan, while Group F pits defending champions Ivory Coast against Cameroon, Gabon, and Mozambique. Still talking about the AFCON, the Confederation of African Football CAF, together with the Royal Moroccan Football Federation and the local organizing committee of the CAF Africa Cup of Nations, have announced the cities that will host matches in the competition. 6 cities, of course, and 9 stadiums have been selected for Africa's flagship football tournament, which will run from 21st of December 2025 to 18th of January 2026. The cities are Rabat, Casablanca, Agadir, Marrakesh, Fez, and Tangier, according to the LOC. The stadiums feature a blend of modern infrastructure and cultural significance, ready to welcome fans from across the continent and beyond. Away from there, we'll come to League football, where Kwara United delivered a commanding performance on Monday, securing a 2-0 win over Eyimba in a rescheduled Nigeria Premier Football League Match Day 12 encounter in Ilorin. The Harmony boys set the tone early with Wasiu Alalade converting a penalty in the 3rd minute after defensive lapse by Eyimba Junior. By the way, Junior Amil Foua doubled Kwara United's lead in the 37th minute, capping off a dominant first-half display. Eyimba failed to recover, struggling to create clear-cut chances throughout the match. The defeat is Eyimba's 2nd consecutive loss following their 2-0 loss at Kano Pillars on Thursday. Meanwhile, Kwara United's victory provides a vital boost, propelling them to 11th on the log with 26 points. Away from there, we'll come to sports in Nigeria, where Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak has renamed the Kwara Stadium complex in Ilorin to honor prominent figures in the state's history and sports legacy. The stadium will now be known as the Major General George Agbasika Ini Stadium complex, recognizing the late leader's contributions to the state. The main bowl has been renamed after Rashidi Yekini, Nigeria's football legend and highest goal scorer, famed for scoring the country's first World Cup goal. Other stadium facilities were also renamed, including the table tennis arena after Musa Atanda, the indoor sports hall after Gabriel Babatunde Ladipo, and hostels named after Saliu Ishola, Bolaji Eniola, and Bola Eson, celebrating their achievement in sport. The renaming reflects the governor's commitment to preserving history. And that's it on sports tonight. And Favor Itwa Entertainment is up next.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Time for some entertainment news. I have Sam with me tonight. There doesn't seem to be an end to Speed Darlington's drama. It's not ending anytime soon, is it?
Absolutely not. I feel like he just finds himself in that space. And what's beautiful is in the past few days, there's so much drama around his life already.
I mean, I've been following it myself. It's amazing.
Not only did he talk about an alleged assassination, we now know that, of course, his case now with the police has been adjourned till March. Well, I guess I'll bring you all the details after this short break.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Of course, now in entertainment, Akpi is back in the news. Popularly known as Speed Darlington, the controversial musician not only survived an assassination, according to him, his suit against the police has been adjourned till March. Now, where do we even start? Since Speed Darlington's release from Kuje prison last week for defamation against Burna Boy, it seems the controversial star is still in the midst of drama. A federal high court in Abuja adjourned the 300 million naira fundamental rights enforcement suit filed by the singer against the police until the 19th of March for adoption of process. Now recall that Akpi, as popularly called, had insisted that he will be exploring every angle of the law to ensure he gets justice, claiming he was illegally detained and deprived of his fundamental human rights while he was in police custody for 5 days. Now, shockingly, between yesterday and today, the singer has claimed to have survived an assassination after alleging in videos online that his vehicle was shot at. Now, people are asking, could this have been a ploy to silence the singer? Well, the future of the case against the police seems unclear, considering the news that his lawyer, Stan Alieke, and his law firm, Law Capital, would no longer be representing the artist. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait till March, honestly, to find out what happens on this one.
I'm not surprised this lawyer backed out.
Wow. Well, speaking about something else that's rather shocking, yesterday, social media was hit with shocking news of the separation of veteran singer Tubaba and his wife, Annie Idibia. Now, what was first reported as fake news as a result of Tubaba's account getting hacked quickly turned sour after the African Queen singer himself returned online to say it was true, confirming the end of their 13-year-long marriage. Now, several reactions have surfaced online with heavy criticism from some of your faves. Now, let's take a few of them. Now, of course, this one by Mary Njoku, of course, a popular actress, says, "Bro, Annie has a family. Your sisters-in-laws are many, and we've stayed quiet out of respect for her tough choices. But since you've decided to humiliate her at her lowest, no wahala. It's your choice. Just make sure she's healthy and okay, because when the time comes, we'll have plenty of questions for you." Now, that's not all. Popular media personality Toke Makiwa had this to say. Now, she says, "This is wrong on all levels, and you should be ashamed of yourself for bringing this here." She adds, "Bring it on. If you think she's alone, let me tell you that we'll fight all of you." Now, that is not all. People are, of course, coming back. Entrepreneur Ife of the Diary of a Niger Girl says, "First they groom you, then you lose yourself, and then they dump you. If I'm so angry, I never involved myself with things like this, but this is disgusting behavior by this man. In the time when this woman is being bashed, you had to say this, knowing you constantly humiliate her publicly since I was 18 years old? Why now? Why heap more fire on her reputation? Never choose a man over yourself. No one is indispensable. Gosh." Now, a relationship suffered by infidelity and, of course, two beautiful kids in the midst. But it's not the first time their struggles have become public. Remember back in 2021, remember the audio revelation and Annie's lamentation. And what we thought was sorted, even when the couple, you know, joined the cast of Netflix hit series Young, Famous, and African. I think a lot of people are absolutely upset because she received a lot of bash from the show. And now they're like, how can this be the right time to come out and say this?
You can never know what's going on between a couple. It is that they wear the shoe, they know where it pinches most. But looking on from outside, we might make assumptions that might not be real or might be real. You never know.
I guess the big question is, should people keep putting out their things on social media?
Well, they are public figures, and they also owe a responsibility to the people to let them know what's going on if they choose to, but they're not compelled to, in my view. Yeah.
Well, that's much entertainment.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
And that's it on the news tonight. Remember, you can catch up on all the latest stories by watching News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for giving us your time. Have a good night.